We're live.
Hey,
Oh, we is?
hola. What lipstick is that, Dash?
Um, Old Mess.
Lip bar. Black owned. Yes.
And it's drying out. I need to get more. I was like struggling trying to get the last 2 drops out of the bottle.
I think I just ordered it. I feel like they had a sale not too long ago.
Yeah, and I probably missed it.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Hey, what's up, y'all?
what lipstick are you wearing, Jean-Pierre?
I don't know. The one that you gave me?
Relentless Red.
No, that's Always Red by Sephora.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Relentless Red is what
From MAC. I love that stuff. I think they discontinued it, right?
I think so. And you're wearing Boss Lady?
No, I'm wearing something by Milani.
Oh, that has like the Boss Lady tinge.
I know.
The deep, like it's kind of like ox blood. Like I love ox blood. I love it.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Hold on.
So Omar's gonna detangle this real fast.
Yeah.
Hi. Hey, life partner.
We are live. We're doing the caña negra right here, Omar. This got tangled in the roots. Hey, everybody.
Ow. That looks painful.
Wait, untangle what? A lock?
Yeah.
From a cornrow?
I have a metal thing on one of the locks. And it got tangled in the root. So it's a little bit painful. But he's going to get it.
We believe in you, Omar.
If not, then this domestic dispute is being recorded, and there's at least, at least 5 witnesses right now.
We're gonna need another thumbs up when you when you like take it out, so we can be like, "Yay, Omar!" We need like a little soundtrack. I need to get one of those.
We need your thing. We need your thing, and we need our listening audience or our viewing audience to come through with our intro music, because right now we don't have our intro music.
Can I use your phone for this?
Yes, Omar's gonna use my phone, so I can't do the watch parties right now, but the watch parties will come. Hey, everybody! We have 4 people that are on live right now with us.
Hello.
This is Caña Negra live and directo desde nuestra página de Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Jean-Pierre.
And that is...
He got it.
Oh, snap. Wait.
Yay. I can't clap. I just painted my nails. So.
Yes. Omar.
Ooh, that feels so good. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Ooh.
Look at that. A husband doing something that feels so good. Yes, Lord.
Maybe my scalp, too.
Ooh. Work out them cakes, baby. Take the knots out.
They be useful. They be useful sometimes. Sometimes, right?
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Right?
Yeah, that's funny. So, all right. So we are at our second live. Our first live was so much fun that we said we're gonna do it again.
No, this is our 4th live.
How is it our 4th live?
Our 4th Facebook live?
Yeah.
You did with Jackie, your cousin. Remember your cousin?
That's right. And we had one last week.
Wait, we did
Jackie. Then
we had our own live.
Yeah.
Again, and then we had one last week. What is that platform called?
We Are All Latina.
We All Grow Latina, right?
All Grow Latina. And you know what? Shout out to Jackie, because I did say that she was one of the artists that decorated the Black Lives Matter sign in Toronto. So, yay, Jackie!
And her, I have not watched the Walter Mercado with Mucho Amor. I'm not there yet. But one of her whole buildings was featured in the documentary.
You know, I was actually it was on today. I can't say that I was watching it. My mom finally got a home attendant. So there's someone who came in today, and I was just like, I don't know what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, I don't know. But what ended up happening was that we ended up putting the Netflix show on. So now I'm going to have to make sure that I pay attention so I can see Jackie, and then I'll take a picture and be like, Jackie! Woo!
Well, that's the only reason why I would watch it.
Yeah.
I have no interest in Walter Mercado. Like,
I have no. I grew up watching Walter Mercado. I don't have stories about Walter Mercado back home because it's a real thing. People, the whole country watching.
Yeah, but it's always in the background.
To make sure what color underwear, negligee, and pajama folks are gonna wear, lingerie, yellow or red, right? It's a real thing. And I remember once, I had brought a boo over to Panama.
Ew.
And we stayed at my house, at my parents' house, and my grandmother was waiting to see the thing. My grandmother was probably like 89, 88, 89. And we were waiting, and then it was announced, right? Cool. And but we have, I don't know what's going on. We have this comment here.
Hello. Lo quiero. That is our biggest fan, Yuko.
Hola.
Where's your thing, Evelyn? Dios mío.
We are las tres negritas más pegadas del mundo.
Yes, repartida número uno.
Only he can call us that. Don't be getting comfortable for the other viewers out there to be getting comfortable with us. This is reserved for family. No, hold on.
Yeah, we have to make that
very clear. Grupo es familia. Eres familia. No se pasen porque van a estar en problemas.
Machetazo.
Sí, machete.
Eso es lo que voy a tener que buscar, un
machete.
Un sonido para machete. So when we want to cut things off, ¿verdad? Cuando queramos cortar las cosas, un machetazo.
Un machete. Exactly.
Not to be confused with the tienda machetazo in Panama.
Exactly.
It's the worst thing ever.
But they don't get free advertising, and I don't want.
What is machetazo? Is it like a discount store? Una tienda de descuento?
It's a chain in Panama now.
Is it like Bobby's?
No.
Is it like Bobby's in Brooklyn?
No. Okay. It's more like Walmart.
Como Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart doméstico.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so the thing happened. My grandmother went, took a shower, and then came out and basically like a see-through lingerie. And my boo was like, I didn't know where to look. He was like so uncomfortable, poor thing. And dinner the whole night was my whole family and my grandmother in this like yellow see-through lingerie. It was very funny. We were used to it. But he wasn't, and he was like, "Does this happen all the time?" Like all the time.
And the older they get, the less shame there is. Like my grandma turned 80 yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Cute.
Wait, boo! I'm charging my phone. I would give her a low sound.
So cute. When my grandmother turned 90, we had a huge birthday party for her, like really big. And she announced when my father was like, "Oh, now ahora que tienes 90 años, que tú quieres, and she announced, "Yo lo que quiero es un novio." Oh, and everybody was like, "What I want is a man." And then she said, but then she continued. She said, "Pero yo no quiero ningún viejo."
Oh,
¿Qué voy a hacer yo con un hombre de más de 90 años?
I was just gonna say that.
Estoy de acuerdo.
She said, "Yo quiero un young boy."
Oh,
she was getting her Jada on.
She said, "Un hombre de 75 años, 80."
That's right.
And we were all like,
Yo estoy de acuerdo. You know what? Because fíjense, notice that she didn't say she wanted a husband. She wants a boyfriend. See? She wanted to have fun.
A novio. Mm-hmm.
Un novio. Right?
Un entanglement. Un involucrado.
Oh no, my grandmother, if you all would have met her, everybody would have loved her. She made me bring her leggings from over here because she was getting physical therapy. She couldn't walk at this point. Well, she could stand up, with the walker, but she was getting physical therapy, and she's like, but bring me nice legging, like with the little lace or something at the bottom. I said, but why? And she's like, oh, because I'm getting physical therapists, and every time that he raises my leg, right, I need to cover up. And I said, Granny, I don't think he's looking. She's like, he's a man, Yeah.
It's true. I agree with her.
So I brought her leggings, right? This kid was like 22 years old.
And so
entanglements happen.
Hello.
22 years old. He was like fresh.
That's what you think. The 23-year-old was with an almost 50-year-old woman. So let's not get that.
He's like, he slid my leg over here. He slid my leg over there. She's like, I need to cover up, but I want something nice.
That's right. And kudos to her for wanting something nice too, because I've been thinking a lot lately about like age and this whole idea that, especially as women, that it's like we're supposed to be grateful or looking forward to looking younger than our age, right? Like as if it's wrong, something's wrong with looking your age or being your age.
Yeah.
This, youth-centered culture, I think, drives people to do a lot of different unreasonable things in order to retain whatever the benefits are perceived of being young. So people want the wisdom of aging, but not the look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I've started to really think about. Like, is it as much of a compliment when people like, oh, you look young? Like, it's like, thanks. I don't know.
Right.
Okay, what do I do with that?
I was going to say, what I'm supposed to do with that?
You can pay me to go back to the age that you think I look.
Yeah.
Right?
Hello.
So is it as much, what do we need to do in order to really be like, I'm, whatever age you are, and I'm good with this? Especially I think that for women in their 30s, because most people, like, I don't know about you, Dash, but when I was in my 30s, I was like, damn, I'm fine now.
No, Evelyn, I just sent that to you the other day. Remember?
Yes.
I was like, I really like aging because I look at photos when I was in my 20s. I remember what I told you. I said, I feel, because remember I was telling y'all how I want to dye my hair red again?
Uh-huh.
And you were like, ooh, pura pana, no sé qué. And I was like, no, you didn't know me when I was in my red phase. Like, I was rocking that red. And then I sent y'all a photo, remember?
Yes.
This auburn, and I was like around 25 then, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I feel like I grew into my face because my face, I felt like it was scrunched up, and with age it kind of like just like lengthened. I don't even know what.
It smoothed out because some of the fears that you have also get you like they be aging you. You know, in your mid to late 20s, they actually age you because you're feeling all these feels that you're not sure you're supposed to feel, and then all of a sudden you're just like, you know what, fuck it. If I don't get happy, this is not gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I know that I'm 46 and I feel the hottest that I felt in years. I felt really, really, really hot like in my 30s, like in my mid 30s. And then when I was pregnant, I was like on fire. And then postpartum I took a dip. Like I was like, postpartum, this society, because women don't have support here. And that's like a real conversation that we have to have. Most women here just don't have the support. You don't have the 40 days that traditionally we have back home. I get so like, when I think about my cousins and the treatment and the relationships and everything that they got from my aunt and my mother and everybody else that catered to them, I never got that. I got my mom that came and my aunt sent trunks of clothes and everything else, but I didn't get like that hands-on support. So, what happened with Evelyn? So my body really took I felt that my body took a licking and my breast took a kicking and everything else. And, and when I put my mirror to my vagina right after postpartum, and nobody prepared me for that.
No.
Nobody prepared me for that.
It's different.
Brown, right? With Anayansi, I was ready. But I felt like I took a But then I don't know. I don't know what has happened. I think COVID has really because I am feeling myself. I feel
no, you look hot. Come on.
And then the lipstick is adding to it.
The little cornrow.
Yes.
I'm working out. I'm feeling good. I think I'm getting more rest these past 3 weeks. White people are being a little bit more cautious around us. That is also helping. People are not arguing about our fucking rates. That's also helping.
Yeah.
I am here for all of it. I think that it definitely it ebbs and flows, but for the most part, feeling sometimes I definitely feel that I feel like it is a physical manifestation of how I feel on the inside when I feel like my interests and my skills are aligning. So sometimes you got skills that you can't access, or you got interests that you can't access. But when your interests and your skills and your community aligns, I think that also physically reflects, and you get radiant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out
to our viewers feel radiant. Type it in.
What makes y'all feel radiant?
But shout out to Brittany. Brittany is a huge supporter of Radio Caña Negra, of Afro Latino travel. She's always on the live. She's been on our tours. She's coming to Cuba later on in the year. And so shout out to people who continuously support us, because we definitely need that, and we thrive off of that, and we love that. And, we're building community. So that's great. And shout out to my husband for tuning in, even though he doesn't know half of the things that we're saying in English, but he's picked up on a lot, though. I'm very proud of him. And I was like, I could be plotting to kill you and you wouldn't know. And he was like, kill is matar. So I know, I would know.
And you know what? Sometimes we surprise each other with how much it is that we know, right? But even that, I think new learning over this time increases your radiance too, right?
Exactly.
All of that is just really making what makes you feel radiant, Dash?
Edibles.
I'm gonna go get one right now.
Damn jelly. Well, I mean, okay. So edibles, right? But then also hanging with my friends and loved ones. Mm-hmm. I love doing these lives because obviously I get to chat with y'all. I just love your chosen family, right? It's people that you actually want to be around. So I love goofing off with my friends and family, acting a damn fool. And I think that's it. Because I was gonna say, I really like doing our workshops.
Yes,
that's something that's really cool for me. But then the workshop is a lot of emotional labor on top of it.
Most definitely.
And so,
I mean, they're great and they're exhausting, right? One doesn't have to negate the other. That there is labor and there's emotional labor. There's all types of labor.
Let's talk a little bit about the workshops, just because we've had a lot of people ask about the workshops. There's still space in the upcoming workshop on the 24th. People are asking for the next upcoming one. For folks that haven't taken the workshop, please treat yourself to this, right? It's a really great workshop for you to really be in a space where you can be free to, one, center Blackness. If you are a Black person that has been in spaces, if you're a Black person, especially from Latin America, that has been in spaces and many times been invisible. And one of the many reflections that we get, especially from Black people from Latin America, is that they have not fully been able to be their 100% selves in most spaces that they occupy. And that this is the first space that they can bring their full self, not even in their own families sometimes.
Yep.
I want folks that are listening to understand that some people that identify themselves as Black, that look like Dash, Evelyn, and Genevieve, cannot bring their full Black selves in a Latino family because that family is anti-Black.
Mm-hmm.
So could you imagine being 0 to 100 years old and not being able to fully be free in your house?
Yeah. And also what it takes to get free, right? Because I think the other side of it is that when you decide that you want to be free, how do you get free? Because I think that that's also a really important question, that just the recognition that you're not free. I think a lot of people are in progress of realizing how not free they are, right? How bound, how chained they are. And so also being able to create community for yourself that gives you the opportunity to get free on your time.
Yeah.
I think that as much as you can realize that you're not free, there also is a freedom. A fear that happens when people decide that they want to get free sometimes. And that's really valid too, because I think that often in our attempt to be, and I'm not talking about us as Caña Negra, I think that we are very supportive and we work toward being, like, we feel deeply for our participants, right? When they're participants that are very evidently struggling, like, we are questioning later, like, did we do enough? What can we do to communicate with them? How can we continue to support them? So know that if you decide to take our workshop, which you should, that you also are in a community of people who really want to see you show up in a space in all of your fullness, right? But the process of getting free is a process. It's not like I took this workshop and I'm all of a sudden, it's like, I know, but I am fear. Oh my gosh, my family I might not get the to-go sancocho that I really like, if they get mad at me. And so helping someone navigate that process is also part of something that we prioritize and value.
And that's traumatic. It's traumatic and triggering and emotional, because we get tears. We get people that a lot of their childhood trauma comes through. Things that are not shocking, things that are shocking, things that are deeply hurtful, painful, things that still affect people. And we're not therapists, right? But we identify with a lot of it, and we've seen a lot of it. And even if we haven't been through it, we know what that is. And so it's hard, because we're also Black women too, moving through this world as Black women. And to hear or see and to hear and see other Black people suffering, it's an emotional labor that's really profound, and we take it to heart. It's not a job for us. This is indeed how we live. This is what we've chosen to do in service of ourselves and our community. And then, imagining transform, as Evelyn always says, restorative and transformative futures, but that takes a lot of heavy lifting and the type of energy that comes on us, in addition to just moving through the world with our normal responsibilities, is really heavy.
So we encourage you to really consider it, take it, share it. We've had a lot of educators take it. You really want your, if you have children out there, you really want your children's teachers to take this. And they do not have to be Latino, Latina, Latine, Latinx. They can be working in institutions that service our communities, and this is really important for them to take.
I think it's good for anyone to know, because people, even if you're not Latin American, you may still interact with Latin Americans.
Right.
And I can't tell you the amount of African Americans that have tweeted me that, while I'm talking about racial dynamics in Latin America, they're like, it feels so good to be vindicated, because they tell me that throughout their life they've been gaslighted by so many Latin Americans who say, oh no, we're not racist. If you were in my country, you and me would be the same. And they know it's not true, but they don't feel it's their place as non-Latin Americans to say anything. It's countless. I lost count over the years. How many non-Latin Americans, and not just Black Latin Americans, just any people that interact with Latin Americans, who are like, I know what these lying ass Latin Americans are telling me is not true. I know it, but it's just not my place to refute it.
Yeah. We've had some Black folks that are not from Latin America, African American and African from the continent folks, be told from non-Black Latinos that the word for Black in Latin America is moreno.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, the word for Black is not moreno.
Yeah.
No.
Moreno es un apellido.
Exactly. So those are the kinds of dismantling, and we'll get you some accurate information, some lived experiences from real Black people, not from fake ones, from people that were born Black.
Not from non-Black Afro Latinos.
Right. From Black since birth.
Black since birth.
We like from people who are Black established 2018.
So if you are Black since birth, let us know that you're out here watching us, sharing with us.
We're gonna have a Black since birth bashment on July 25th.
Wait, hold on, where am I?
The air horn. So July 25th is Black Women's Day or Black Women's Day. What is it? The Día
de la Mujer Afro-Caribeña y Afro-Latina.
It's always a long name.
I know, right?
I feel like
negras.
when you're from Latin America, I think that's part of it too. It's like the longer it is, like the more important. And I'm always like,
yeah, it's always la red de no sé qué, de José María de la Caridad, de Core, de la Merced, y la Santísima. Like what?
You know what's so funny? It's never shortened. Like, you know how it'll be like, oh, people like, no, así no se dice, mija. Hay que decirlo todo para dar, you know, hay que ponerlo en serio, and you're like.
Well, we say la Día de las Negras.
El Día de la Mujer Afro-Latina y Afro-Caribeña. Like,
and it was started by la red de las mujeres afro-caribeña y afro-latina.
So they're like, you better put respect on that name.
Right. That's what it is too, right? That it's like in the desire to be inclusive, you have to use more words. Really, that's just what it is.
That's what I was also asked. Cómo se dice.
And you know what? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna actually look up the actual name because this is part of what we do too.
But you probably said it right.
I'm gonna look it up.
Mujer afrodescendiente.
Afro. Okay, so, and you know what? I think, okay, so, that's not the name. That is not the name.
We take it back.
Not the name. All right. I will. The name is Día Internacional de la Mujer Afrodescendiente, Africana y de la Diáspora.
Entonces todo el mundo. So this is even more, right? Okay.
Yeah, Black Femmes.
Black Women's Day. Black Femmes Day.
It's
also, yeah.
Día de la Mujer Black y Diáspora Black.
Right. Black and black. Anybody, right? If you are Día de la Mujer Black.
Día Internacional de la Mujer Afrodescendiente, Africana y de la Diáspora.
Día de la Mujer Black. Día de la Femme Black.
Right.
La Femme Blaquita.
Sí.
La Femme Blaquita.
And it started in 1992.
Oh, wow.
La Femme Blaquita. That should be that's the name of our event. La Femme Blaquita.
La Femme Blaquita.
La Femme Negrita.
That's
no, but the thing is, that could be confused with Blanquita, and so I don't know about the Blaquita. Yeah. And then I don't want people on the street calling me Blaquita because that's like fighting.
I'll be
like, no.
La Femme, yeah. You know what? This sounds like a movie though. Maybe because I'm thinking La Femme Nikita, but like La Femme, right? Like
this says, but wouldn't that include? So the question here, wouldn't that include non-Black Afro descendants?
How?
I'm not concerned about them. That's me talking. That's Dash talking.
Hold on. I would like to hear from Gloria, right? If you could enlighten us, what is, just to hear for clarity, what do you consider a non-Black Afro-descendant? I just want to hear it. I have my understanding, but I just want to know what it is. As we continue the conversation.
And thank you for the question, Gloria.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks for watching and in participating.
Also, July 25th, Peru just declared that it's Dia de Victoria Santa Cruz.
And that's not Evelyn's fault.
No.
So July 25th is Dia de Victoria Santa Cruz, who we know she's a legendary poetess. Is it poetess or just poet?
I think poet. Poetisa, I think it's en español. Ay, estás ahí machuqueando toda la vaina.
Poet. Poetess.
Poetess.
That's not Hotepi, though. Poetess.
Poetess.
Yeah.
And so, because her poem has been ran straight into the ground at this point, me gritaron negro. Me gritaron negra.
Negra.
Negra. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like there's other poems. Like I want us to expand, right? And it's cool that there's a day, but in Peru, it's cool. But what about that access to education for Peruvians?
Right. And also,
so Gloria wrote back, which is good. Thank you, Gloria. Afrodescendientes include people with African ancestors who are not read as Black. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yes, that day would also include people of African ancestry. But our party would center Black people.
Yes.
Who read as Black.
So people that are African descendant can attend because we are not going to deny folks. But we always encourage people to stay in their lane. And if folks listen to the last live that we did, we encourage, I think Angeli said to stay silent.
Walk silently.
Next to us or behind us. And that's it. So folks that are not read as Black, that don't have a Black experience, but are African descendants, you're welcome to come, enjoy, and learn, experience. But then that's it.
Well, we have another comment from Kiara Gonzalez Duran, like the Cafe Duran.
Hey, Kiara.
Panamanian coffee, Duran.
Question.
Okay. I'm loving this conversation in regards to what Gloria asked. I would like to offer my opinion. I do not think that includes non-Black Afro-descendants. Many people in Latin America are Afro-descendants, but do not experience racism and Blackness that Afro-Latinos have to experience in their everyday lives.
Can you put it on the bottom, Jay?
It's going to block Evelyn out if I do that. Because it's so long, but folks can read it. Oh, you can't. Can you? Black. You can't see it, Dash?
No, I can see it. I wanted to see if we could put it as a banner.
No, because it's so long, it will block out Evelyn. And then Rashid asks, anyone ever notice the same prefix of BLA in Black as in Blanco?
What? What?
Anyone ever notice the same prefix of BLA in Black as in Blanco? BLA. Evelyn, you're on mute, I think. Evelyn, you're on mute.
Yes, I just realized that I was on mute.
So Kiara's question. So Kiara, this is like something that we cover all the time. Thanks for the question. So Afro-Latinos or Afro-Latinx, Afro-Latines, Afro-Latinas, the question is completely right. They don't have to be Black, right? So Afro-Latinidad does not equal It can, but it does not have to equal blackness. But blackness does equal blackness. So you can be an Afro-Latinx person, but not have a black experience. You could just be claiming your African ancestry. But you could be a black person from Latin America and be an Afro-Latino, Afro-Latinx. So, so non-black Afro-descendants can be Afro-Latinos. And that's what creates a lot of confusion, especially with folks that focus on claiming Afro-Latinidad, but not, and speaking around Afro-Latinidad, but not claiming blackness, and not being able, and not being able, and that they also shouldn't claim blackness because they don't have that lived experience.
But they also shouldn't be the one speaking.
Right. And they also shouldn't be the one speaking.
They're part of the conversation on one hand. Absolutely. But it's time and time again, they're being centered, and we've had enough.
And they take all the air, right? So they take all the air, they take all the air time, right? And they take all of so it's like the experience doesn't just, they are not the alpha and the omega of the specific type of experience. And I think that what we're specifically saying over and over and over and over again is that when they do that, it actually removes actual Black people who've had no other experience from being part of the conversation, and we belong in the conversation.
Correct.
I was just having that, I had a thread yesterday about how mixedness has always been the center of this Latino conversation. Mm-hmm. And that is just not my experience. Everyone in my family is Black. No one can get away with saying, oh, I'm mixed. No, everyone is Black. And so I had this tweet, this Twitter thread going. And of course, I state that mixedness has been the hallmark of Latinidad. And of course, someone says, well, don't forget about the mixed people. I'm like, you about to get blocked, girl, because here you come again. I'm telling you that myself and many other thousands and millions of people have had monoracial experiences as Black bodies, as Black people, as lived Black experience. And here you come with your tragic mulatto self again, like proving me right. And I'm like, yo, can y'all prove me wrong? I'm begging you, please prove me wrong. I want to get up one week, a whole week, entire week, and be proved wrong every day. I'm begging you to prove me wrong. Please do it. But y'all doing the same old tactics, the same old stale narrative, the same old tears that we've been hearing for the past 50, 100, 200, 300 years. I'm sick of you. Get therapy. It's enough. Okay, you didn't know color is okay. And then the theme is always, I'll do a series of tweets, 5 billion tweets on racism in Latin America. And then they offer, yeah, colorism is so bad in our communities. I'm talking about race. Right. I'm talking about race. Colorism and race, obviously colorism is part of the conversation. I'm talking about race. What are y'all talking about? Because you're still not being honest here. And you're still speaking out of turn. That's their MO.
That's the thing, is speaking out of term. I could think about so many segments that we can have on this show, on these lives, like the weekly drag, or the live drag, the speaking out of term, where we actually show examples of people actively speaking out of term over and over and over and over, and people being sick and tired.
What is happening up there, Ed? Says Black isn't a race. Okay, that's cool. We're not gonna do this tonight. We're not doing that tonight, because we understand that we're not doing this racist societal construct. We're not doing that. We're not doing Black isn't a race. It's a color. Where is it on the map? We're not doing that no more, because y'all are exhausting. We're not doing it. Janvia.
Yes.
We were talking about, can you tell I'm over it? Like,
no, I'm over it too.
Same.
No, when the definition from like Webster's and all that, I was done already.
We're not doing this with you. I'm Black. We're Black. If you have a problem with it, go argue with the wall. So we're talking about Well, we were talking about two things actually today. The Black girl who got sent to a juvenile detention center because she didn't do her homework, or rather, it was a series of events.
And so, yeah, because for me, that's how the systems are intertwined and work against us to criminalize us. And in this case, I don't. In this case, to criminalize girls, to criminalize Black girls. And this is an issue that folks are not really paying attention to because it talks about the disposability of girlhood and of womanhood.
Black girlhood, right? Specifically.
Black girlhood, Black womanhood. Because these girls have been existing in these youth detention centers and in these little boot camps as well. And the issues there are dire. The issues in there. Oh, if I tell you the stories that I've seen with my two eyes, and these eyes don't lie. These eyes don't lie. But yes, are you pulling up the story?
I'm gonna pull up the article. Yeah.
And then if folks are out there, and you really want to participate, this is a good opportunity. A good opportunity to really participate and to center girlhood, well, Black girlhood and Black girls in general. And
I think that
yes, go ahead, Evelyn.
I think that it's really important for us to really be clear that Black for us is not a slur, right? And that for some people, depending on where it is that you live and what it is that you believe, that you see Black as a slur. It's not a slur. It's not a curse word to me. It's actually a source of immense pride. So when I say I'm Black, I don't mean it to be like, damn, I'm Black, I should be apologizing for it. I mean like, damn, I'm Black. Like, how lucky am I that I get to be Black, right? Mm-hmm. And how lucky am I to be around amazing Black people all the time? And so I just want to be clear that for the people that might have questions about why we use Black is because we're Black, because we fucks with Black. Right. And that doesn't mean that and if you come to our workshops, which again you should, you'll see that there are people who don't identify as Black and they get to see Black excellence. Right. And so and that doesn't mean that we are Black excellence because we're leading the workshops. It means that we are Black excellence because we're leading the workshops.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So, and at the same time, we're Black regularly. Right.
We're Black and right. So it's like, it's not about being perfect or being in charge that makes you Black excellence, but like, we are dope. And the workshops are pretty damn badass. Correct. But, you know, and we fundamentally believe that like all Black lives matter. So it doesn't have to be that because we're leading these workshops that it matters. But I think that there are people who sometimes don't understand that Black is not an offense to us.
Correct.
It may have been used as a tool as an offense to us, but I don't really care what white people do. Like I don't care.
And we don't center white or white people. And I think that that's a really unique thing that we have to offer.
No, pero este hombre ya me tiene cansado.
Necio, ya. Siempre está metiendo en las cosas que no. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, this is like a woman-centered piece.
Right. So let's go.
So let's like keep that in mind.
Young.
You're not trying to convince us of anything.
Right.
Or bringing you information.
Right.
Yeah.
Next.
We promise you.
Next case. Let's go.
All right.
So Mariana.
Dash. What you were, yeah.
So I'm going to pull up, right? It's always the cishet men try to like, let me inform you, my sister. Anyway. ProPublica.org. The headline is a teenager didn't do her online schoolwork, so a judge sent her to juvenile detention. A 15-year-old in Michigan was incarcerated during the coronavirus pandemic after a judge ruled that not completing her schoolwork violated her probation. It just doesn't make any sense, said the girl's mother. So I read the whole thing and it was really painful. Yeah, to read it. This is a single mom with a teenage daughter. And it seems that they've had challenges. She actually didn't think she could have children. And then she became pregnant at the age of 44. And the child's father didn't want anything to do with the child. So here we go again. Black women being left to our own devices yet again, and which we've been dealing with that. Listen to Gloria, thank you. Gloria, thank you. La Gloria, thank you. Everyone cállense and listen to Black women. So this
shut up and listen to Black women. That's it. That should be our t-shirt for La Yo Caña Negra.
Ooh, that is. Everyone cállense.
We will mail you some t-shirts.
Yes, thank you very much. Please email us at radiocañanera@gmail.com. Email us your address.
Take a screenshot of that, please. Keep it up.
Decide to use it.
Okay, smile. And so the woman had her child, and she had, she's a teenager doing stupid teenagery things. I know I put my mom through hell when I was a teenager because I was a fucking asshole, like every teenager. But it seems that the teen actually became physical with her mom. And so there was an incident where the teen was like pulling her mom's hair and biting her. And this was in public. And so the woman was saying help and beeping her car horn, and the cops were called. And when I read that the mom called the cops on her before, and then the incident in the parking lot, I believe. And so the cops were already becoming involved in her life. And I'm like, that's the first step into hell. Once you get the state involved, once you get the cop state involved. And so it was just, it was one after the next. She was on probation, and then she got in trouble in school, and then, the pandemic. And so they're taking online classes, and a condition of the probation is that, she had to fulfill the rules of whatever courses she was taking. But the thing is that the teenager has ADHD on top of that. And so it was difficult for her to get a grasp of the material being online, of the schedule, of the material, just all of these challenges, right? And so when she wasn't handing in her homework, they decided, the state basically decided that the best remedy was to throw her into juvenile detention, even though the recommendations were to not send children into the system because of the pandemic. And the thing is that the judge basically insisted, like, no, you have to face the consequences of your actions. Exactly. And the teen had served her time, and then they went back to review, and the teen pleaded with the judge, like, look, I'm very remorseful, everything in the book, I'm not going to go through it again because it's extremely emotional. It's hard to read. Pleading. And the judge says, I don't think so. Back to juvenile detention you go. And there's a letter that the teen wrote her mom. And it's just this cycle of it. This is not about trying to rehabilitate or help any of us. This is about punitive measures. This is about anti-Blackness. This is about what you feel people deserve based on bad behavior that any teen would engage in. But because it's a Black teen or a Black youth, specifically a Black girl who you deem as problematic, then, well, it's a crime. I'm like, when has not doing your homework been a crime? When did that become a crime? Let me know. And so this letter, I'm just going to read one line of it because it's terrible. Dear mommy, I miss you a lot, and being here is hard. I haven't really wrote you because I had to ask God to give me the strength so I could write without crying or feeling bad for the rest of the day. I'm sorry it took so long. I pray every night for God to bring me strength, etc., etc. And then the last line, please continue to send me pictures of me and you or just anyone. I love you, mommy. I miss you.
Yeah. So there's so many things here, right? There's so many things here. So if you one of the reasons that I left working at the U.S. Human Rights Network was because youth detention was under my purview. And it was the absolute. So it was two things: youth life without parole was under my purview, and youth detention was under my purview, and I hated both of them. Youth life without parole, if folks don't know about it, I believe it's illegal now. I believe in most of the country. But imagine that you are 13, 14, and you get sent to prison for life, pretty much. So it's youth life without parole. So the cases that I was working with a lot of attorneys and meeting with families were for men and women that were in their 40s. So they were not youth anymore. But because they were not youth anymore, they didn't get the attention that they needed to move their cases forward, for them to be out. So it's like a really like fucked up situation. And then the youth detention piece. So you're under 16, right? So you're 13, 14, as young as 10 years old in some states get sent to youth.
Their frontal lobe isn't even developed.
Correct.
And they're
Correct. And then you complete your it could be like 2 months, it could be 9 months, it could be a year, right? So you complete your year. And you have to have a parent to come sign out for you, or a guardian or an adult. If there's a dysfunction in that household, guess what? You're not getting out. But you already completed your time there. So you have to wait in this other house, which is called like this waiting house, but it's still a prison.
Is it like a group home?
It's like a group home, but it's adjacent. But you have to follow all the rules. And if you break one of the rules, then you go right back. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I remember there was this young woman that she broke my heart, or my heart broke for her, because right when she was she had like a week and a half left, and then her mother went into prison for writing a fake check because she was coming out, and her mother wanted to have like a party and all that kind of stuff, and she wrote a fake check to Walmart. And she went to prison. And she couldn't get her out. And her grandmother did not have the money to sign her out. So she was there almost 7 months more than she had to for un cheque sin fondo. This system, and these are all, the majority of these kids are black girls. Because I mostly only worked in the black, like the youth juvenile stuff that I used to do was mostly black girls. Well, mostly girls.
Yeah. And following the rules part is really up to the person's discretion.
Of course.
Because any infraction can be deemed you weren't following the rules. And we're talking about racist, white supremacists who are in charge of these children that they hate. So it's not ethical or just. Claudia says it's heartbreaking because our kids are criminalized from an insanely young age. Yeah, we are deemed as a problem. I always say nothing is a problem, nothing is a crime until Black people do it. Nothing, because these white kids, like Gloria said, I've never heard of white teens going to prison for not doing homework. Yeah, because they're allowed the grace to be stupid teens and stupid kids.
Yeah. There's another name for that. The stupid thing is like free will or free something. It's not stupid kids.
A really good book about this is Justice on Both Sides by Maisha T. Wing, where they talk about just some of the challenges that like girls have in the extreme ways that Black girls in particular, the extreme ways that their bodies are policed. Like, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, there was a girl who had like a fight in her classroom, and like the police came and like the school safety agent came and like body slammed her
over,
right, and like flipped her over. And so just these ideas that like also the adultification that is rampant, right? In and out of our community toward Black girls in particular, right? Like, you're 12, you should know better. You got to know how to protect yourself from grown ass men. You got to know how to cook a meal. You got to get straight A's in school. You got to know how to. So it's like this. One of my girlfriends says all the time. She's like, we don't respect childhood, right? We do not respect childhood, and the childhood of Black children is disrespected the most, particularly Black girls, right? And so that's really important to note, that it is a standard and that we all can contribute to not continuing to adultify, right? Black children, that they deserve a right, they deserve the opportunity to make foolish mistakes just like anybody else, right? And that the terminology that is utilized, like, we were talking earlier about like just terminology that is utilized to support children when they have different behaviors. And the problem for me is not that the terminology exists, is that the terminology is not equally utilized.
Correct.
So if I, white child, am I talk back, it's like, wow, I'm assertive, like I stand my ground. But if I'm a Black child, then it's like, you don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Right?
You're rude, you're soft.
I'm going to.
What'd you say, Dash?
I said I was going to pull up the list. It's a list John says. One column says problem focused, and the next column next to it says solution focused. So instead of saying that a child, or I guess anyone, but this is geared towards children, right? Instead of saying a child is bossy, you say they're a natural leader, a visionary. Instead of saying they're defiant, you say hold strong beliefs, bold, determined. Instead of saying they're oppositional, they advocate for a different perspective.
And I would say that, you know what, in my work in schools, I do a lot of work in the restorative practices, in the restorative justice and practices space, as well as teacher coaching. And I see that like daily, where students that actually are making really good points, but because the teacher doesn't like it, right? That it's like there's a policing of like thoughts, bodies, experiences that happens. And so the students don't get an opportunity to really like learn how to even successfully defend a point, right? And when they do, or they're like, nah, you got to listen to me, then it's all of a sudden the automatic is, you're disrespectful, call the dean, get out of my class. And then when they get out of class, then it's like you weren't in class to learn the work. But if you keep calling dean on me, then I'll never be in class to be able to learn the work. So how is that even going to be? What are some of the beliefs that we need to unlearn also? Because what really hurts my heart is when these people, the first level of policing comes from people that look like them, right? Who are also anti-Black in their actions.
Correct.
To the point where sometimes we can like speed walk these children into specific experiences having to do with the judicial system, right? And police work, because of the fact that we're also unable or unwilling to police, to like really like acknowledge where we've also sipped the tea of anti-Blackness.
Correct.
When that hurts.
Like you said, leading them straight into the lion's den. Like, here you go, offering up our children.
And it's a full circle, right? Because that 12, 13-year-old little girl, Black girl, is being over-sexualized in her own community by these decrepit men that are hanging out outside of the schools.
Predators.
Yeah. Predators, right? Predators, rapists.
Groomers.
That are also other parents. Right? Or brothers.
Then they hold them accountable for their own experience. So it's like, as opposed to being like, oh, this 12, I remember being like 12 and old ass men trying to holler, right? Like I'm talking about like old, like my dad's friends type thing, right? And it would be like, if I said, ew, that man is nasty, they'd be like, oh, why'd you go over there? Like, why did you go over there? You shouldn't have been over there. You shouldn't have been on that side of the damn street. I'm like, it's shade over there. Right? But it's like this idea that somehow we're always supposed to be the people to like not just police our own actions, but also theirs too.
Yeah. And there's a recent, and again, I've I've lessened my social media time because there's more than enough more than enough pain floating around. And Evelyn likes to remind us that Black joy is just as important, or rather, it's extremely important in our humanity and just in our resistance too. And so there was actually a current video of a little girl, because all of these are children.
These are children.
I look at their children, they're kids. And this little girl was being body slammed by the police safety, which, why are you in this school? And at first the teacher was basically, again, they were doing what Evelyn just pointed out. And listen to the cop, stop resisting. And then finally the teacher realized that the cop was out of order, and they said, can you lay off? But they weren't even advocating for her as strongly as they should have been advocating for her. You know what I'm saying? They were just like, can you stop? Because this is a little bit forceful. And it should have been like, get the fuck off of her.
But the thing is, in Florida, I think it was 2004, 2005, a pre-K teacher called, no. So here's the issue, right? A pre-K teacher goes to the principal to complain about a 5-year-old, no, a 6-year-old. So as a K teacher goes to complain about a 6-year-old girl throwing a tantrum and ripping the bulletin board in their classroom. The principal, she says, you need to call the cops. The principal calls the cops. The cops come. And the handcuffs don't fit the little girl, obviously, so they put the little plastic things on the little girl. They're calling the mother. The mother is working, so the mother can't come to the school to pick up the little girl, but the cops have the little girl. So they take the little girl to the police station. Then the mother has to go to the police station to get a 6-year-old girl. So then the mother is going bananas in the police station, and a Black woman, obviously. And then she is then charged with misconduct in the police station. Because now she has gone bananas. So then the mother has, the mother's wrongfully charged. The little girl is traumatized for life. But then where's for me, I was like, where is the fucking breakdown there? The teacher, the principal, the cop that came, the dispatcher if I'm a fucking dispatcher and the school calls an elementary school, I will be like, you all need to get your act together. I will not be dispatching a cop there. Let me talk to that teacher.
Right. Everyone thought it was okay. Not one person said, excuse me?
Exactly. The cop put their hands on the child. The handcuffs didn't work. The child said the handcuffs didn't work. And then they put the little plastic things on her.
On the baby.
On the baby. Then they called the mother. The mother was at work, or they couldn't reach the mother. And
then she had to leave work.
The cop, the principal said, well, you're going to have to take her because the cops can't be here for much, whatever it was. Took her to the police station, like in a car.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, she's crying. Remember that.
Oh, she's screaming.
Sobbing.
The video, the footage. We saw the footage. The footage is probably still online. We don't want to watch that anymore.
Yeah. It's the little girl was sobbing, apologizing, saying, she won't do it. And it was like,
it doesn't matter.
You have to come.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, it's not, it's like there's so many studies done of kids getting suspended from school as early as pre-K, right? Pre-K is like, it's not uncommon to suspend a student. And so really thinking about what it is that we need to also learn, there's like a lot of, like when you talk about like the prefrontal cortex, right? Or when you're talking about Dash, about like they're not fully developed, like at what point is it even developed? Like quite frankly, the adultification happens. I cannot tell you how many workshops I've done for like either middle or high school students or high school teachers. And I will ask them, my simple question is, what is the range of adolescence? Right? What is the range of adolescence is my question. If I had $1 for everybody that tells me 10 to 13 that work with students, it is absolutely horrifying. And so my question is always, so you're telling me that a 14 and 15-year-old are adults, right? And so if this is what you believe, then your actions are also going to go in accordance to that, right? That if you're looking at a 15-year-old as being like, well, they're 15, they should know better, right? But when you're thinking about the fact that you can't even rent a car, right? One of my colleagues says all the time, you can't even rent a car without paying an overage until you're 25. Right? And that there are studies that talk about like the brain development, especially in males, not being fully developed until age 28.
40.
Right? So at minimum 28, right? We're talking about like, so thinking about the fact that when you think about all the ways in which people are, the act of adultification and the way that it impacts Black children causes so much harm, which is why in my, with the work that I do as a doula, we talk all the time, we're like, all health is maternal health. Right? Because when you're looking at like economics, you're looking at lack of policing. Even right now that people are, one of the big things is defunding police, right? But if we had more, and it's not just about having people to do other work, it's about really checking the ideology, right, of certain systems. When I was working at a hospital, we used to work in a program where where we got like social work interns, for example. And all of our social work interns either came from like a specific CUNY school and NYU. Every single one of our students that came from a CUNY school to do their internship, they were like, okay, I guess I'll work at ACS, right? Their MSW, that was the track almost that they felt that they were on, that they were going to be able to work for ACS, and they almost 100% of the time ended up being Black. And the white people, almost 100% were like, I'm just going to get my hours. I'm going to be a therapist. And so it's like this type of thing also where we're looking at where does the money go, right? Like if you are like thinking about the fact that if you're a Black student and you want to do this work, in order to be able to ascend, to be able to provide the supports that people really need so that they won't be in the system, that's a responsibility and an investment that often just doesn't happen into Black students also. So it's not only are you mishandling the actual student that needs the work, but you're also mishandling the people that could both understand them to keep them out of the system.
Correct.
And so it's like the organization is across the board.
Yeah. It's a complete solidarity and chain of command and investment into anti-Blackness. Because at every stage of the game, at every stage, at every turn, at every nook and cranny, is the belief that the Black person is the suspect. With the baby, because the 6-year-old is a baby. That is a baby to me.
And they're automatically guilty until proven innocent, right? So you're guilty until proven innocent. And what happens when you don't have the capacity or you don't have the language to prove yourself innocent? Because that in and of itself is anti-Black. That mother that went to the police station and is ranting and raving, talking about what the fuck did you do to my baby? They have every right to do that. But because
they want that mother to be like,
because they didn't come in a respectable way, which is in and of itself anti-Black, you're robbing me of the agency to show the outrage that this situation deserves.
Yeah.
And that, like, these are the types of things that I think that people don't recognize. And it's unfortunate when you hear these stories and then people are automatically like, well, if they would have listened, then this would not have happened. They should just be quiet, or you should just be calm. But at what point is righteous? How do I get, like, you're going to turn around and tell me that this is right, that this is righteous indignation. But then at what point am I allowed to show righteous indignation for a situation that you acknowledge?
Correct.
I should be rightfully indignant about? Why does my indignation have to come in this small little box that makes you comfortable? My indignation has to come in this small little acceptable box, and that's unacceptable.
And that's what they said about the little girl that got thrown into juvenile detention. Well, she shouldn't have violated her probation.
Yeah, exactly what they say. That because that's so easy. It's like, oh, well, you followed the rules. But then you also recognize that the rules that were there were never made to be easy for her to follow. Just the fact that party done when you know that she has a specific, like, diagnosed mental issue. And even if it wasn't diagnosed, the reality is that these are things that there's grace that white people get grandfathered into that Black people never get, even when, and then they get mad when we get mad and we acknowledge.
What's happening up there? What's going on?
Child, Black
Lino Barnes, Billboard.
But that's the space that it's like, it's so upsetting that it's like, you don't see that this is not okay, right? The kids will do all types of, and also that if we don't learn development of children, then we stand to also cause them harm. Because we're acting as if small kids should have the capacity of grown-ups, when most grown-ups we know ain't shit and fucked up.
Obviously, because they're the ones arresting a child, a baby, a toddler.
Like, white people, and Gloria says in the chat, white people get accommodations. Yes, and they don't just, they like born into them.
Well, more than accommodations, white people, society has been built around white people. Society has been built for white people, and we are just, we are like thorns in that plan. We're thorns that have to be dealt with in that plan. And what did he say, Evan? Sorry?
I was just going to say that, just a reminder that as much as these things are happening in the United States that we're referring to, but this is a global issue.
This is a global issue. And sometimes it's worse. Sometimes I feel like it's worse outside of the United States, because I feel like there's still more. What's happening? Is that me?
I think so.
It's all of us.
It's our alien masters coming finally. Bye, y'all.
I feel like it sounds better now.
It's been real.
I feel like in United States there's still a little bit more like como que un poquito más de monitoreo o algo, or maybe it's like me in my head, but I feel like in Latin America it's just more. It's more pervasive. It's more hidden as well. It's more acceptable.
Yeah, I agree with you, because in normal language, they call black people parásitos. Sí. Normal in Panama. They call all the people in Curunú parásitos. This is parasites. Black people who live in entrenched poverty are parasites to society, even though society thrives off of their labor. So how can they be parasites?
Yeah.
Right. Society is the parasite, if anything, if we want to stratify it in that way. Right. And so this is accepted language. This is what people say about Black people. This is what people laugh at. And I agree with you. I think it's so ingrained and accepted and acceptable that we can all be united in making fun of and degrading and denigrating Black people in poverty. And it's actually an identity and a solidarity and a uniting force in, what we're talking specifically in Panamanian society. And I said it before and I've said it again, Panamanians embarrass me on a daily basis. And at some points, I want nothing to do with them, because there is such a pervasive class discrimination that people are quite comfortable in engaging in. And it's like, as long as it's not me, it's fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's this global understanding that Black people are marginalized because we like it.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be like that, because otherwise we would work hard. We would work really hard, and we would have, slavery, we can't keep on using the slave card and the slavery excuse anymore. If we really wanted to overcome these things, we wouldn't commit crimes. We wouldn't be poor. We wouldn't beat our spouses, our women. Our girls wouldn't be sleeping with older men. We wouldn't be selling our bodies. We wouldn't be doing drugs. Like all these things that we just wouldn't be doing is because we like it all. Mm-hmm. Like that's just a common global understanding, I feel.
Yeah.
Because people see it, right? People see it. Like I've heard people say, like, I've seen girls how they behave with the guys. I've seen people smoking on the street and drinking. Like I've seen those things.
There is a real justification for the beliefs, and then they'll be like, see, like when they go over there, like to your point, like ahí, el sábado de la noche, ahí están bailando a toda hora, like people can't have fun.
Right.
oh, le compran de todo a los niños, like kids, like why, whether it be le compran de todo or why do they have Jordans and they can't read? Can they read? Like this somehow, this deserve nice things.
Yeah.
Like Jordans is going, like spending $200 on Jordans is gonna cure generational wealth.
And force these corporations to actually not throw our resumes directly into the trash.
Mm-hmm. It's the hypocrisy of people, right? The hypocrisy. I remember when I was living in Atlanta, there was this church that used to be involved in social justice and all that kind of stuff. And there was a Greek Orthodox church that used to do social justice work. And sometimes the meetings would be there, right? So they would rotate between the different churches. And once there was a Greek festival, so I went to the Greek festival. And one of the folks said on the microphone that Greek culture was like the best thing. And that is somebody, and they invited everybody, like of all different races and cultures, to go to Greece because around 6 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's outside drinking on the streets, dominoes, and just having a good old time. And I was like, oh, just like in the West End of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But they would never say like, oh, downtown Atlanta, where the historical African American communities are, where there's a lot of little bodegas and liquor stores and people are drinking and having a great time outside. Isn't that great as well? Isn't that great and a great expression of culture? Like nobody would ever say that. But Greece now, it's a superior culture.
That's palatable.
They can drink outside on the streets.
Must be nice.
Right.
But that's no, go ahead.
I was just gonna bring up the example that Genevieve says in our workshop. Our next one is July 24th. But an example that Genevieve said in our workshop about how your uncle used to get up at 2 a.m. He was a fisherman, right? 2 a.m. By the time 9 a.m., 10 a.m. rolled around, he was finished with his shift, or even later than that, actually.
No,
backbreaking work.
8, 9 o'clock. So back by the fish, by the port thing, el puerto. Everything is done, unpacked, nets, everything.
But let's reiterate, we're talking about backbreaking labor. This isn't sitting in an office typing shit. We're talking about
dangerous.
The fishing economy of Panama. Panama, we have 2 oceans. This is our lifeline. This is how people are living.
Right? And you're going dark. And if you don't go out, you don't eat. Right?
Literally.
So if it's raining, you don't eat for the whole day. Right? There's no money coming in when there's heavy rains. Right? Kind of thing. Anyways, so you get back, boat is unloaded, fishing nets, everything is out. So people drink. Why not? People sleep, people drink, hang out.
What any man would do after work.
Right. You already completed your full day, your full shift. But then the working class, they come to the same, like the fishing, ¿cómo se dice eso?
The market?
Yeah, the fish market.
The fish market.
The fish market. And you have black women that are frying fish and serving patacones and everything else. So you have the working folks that coming from the air conditioner offices, a lot of politicians, a lot of accountants, people that make the economy and the political spectrum of the whole country run. They're coming to eat. And they're seeing these bums drinking, hanging out, feet in the water, doing nothing with their lives. And this is the representation of blackness and why they have to be fixed. But they don't know those are the people that just fish their fish.
Mm-hmm.
at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And they're go to bed.
While they're sleeping.
While they're sleeping at night. Like, or cheating, because that's a lot of what they do.
Cheating, yes, cheating.
or raping.
Cheating, raping, stealing.
That's across the street from the fish market. You know the brothel?
Yes.
Right. Or stealing at those jobs that they're looking down on the fishermen for, right?
Any number of things.
Any number of raggedy ass things.
Criminal activities. But their activities are hidden and in the dark.
Right.
We don't see that, like to Genevieve's point, how they're like, oh, I see the black people doing this.
I see them hanging out.
White people doing their crimes.
But I think that there's also this kind of like thing where, you know, like Genevieve mentions that Black culture is not often seen as real culture. It's seen as something that people need to heal from, unless it's under the gaze of whiteness, in which case then they want to exploit it.
And profit.
And profit. So white people want to be able to access Black culture and monetize it somehow and be seen as cool. But when Black people are doing Black culture, then it's like you're shiftless, you're lazy, you are too loud, you are too sexualized, you are fast, you are ignorant, you know, so we don't get to like celebrate ourselves.
Exactly.
We get to use it and still be cool.
The same people that want to, you know, that go and eat at the fish market and everything else would love to go boating on one of those boats, would love to own one of those boats to turn into tourism, would love to learn how to fish and pay good money, but not learn how to fish from a Black person. No. Go to a real academy so they can learn how to really fish. Buy the most expensive fishing cane, not learn how to make your own net from a Black person that has been making it at home through their abuelo. Generationally known how to throw a net a specific way. Not that way. The expensive way. The way that you buy it with the plastic fake little fish hooks and not the actual like bait that you go and collect between the rocks when you're a child.
Yes, Brittany. And you know what? In the chat, shout out to y'all that are in the chat. Bye, Ken. Hope we caught you before it's time to leave. Yes, Denise. It's an entanglement with our culture, right? White people, Gloria says, just want to access and monetize Black culture. You quoted me. Facts. And Brittany says, I wish we could take back all the gifts we have given to white people and just leave them to be bland. Yes, just leave these motherfuckers with salt. And that's it. You know what? Like that.
Salt is too much. Salt is too much.
Y'all just get nothing.
Chalk.
Nada.
Chalk.
Right?
So it's too spicy for them.
Right? And so Mariana says that's a very convenient and comfortable excuse not to have to deal with racism at any level. Absolutely. So everybody that's in the chat, keep it lit. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like a constant and consistent. Like, I'll tell you this much. I'm so sick of white people and their foolish ways. Like, I don't even need another receipt in life. If I never had another receipt, you know what? I'd be okay. And the unfortunate part is that receipts be coming daily. Like, receipts come hourly.
See, that's long receipts. Girl, when I tell you the way that I'm tired of white people, the way I don't need to see another white person, the way I don't want to see even on my screen, the way that I don't want to interact with them, the way I don't even want to engage with them, the way I don't want to converse with them, the way that I don't want to hear their opinions.
It's a lot.
I just be like, you know what? You know that Viola Davis meme where she just pick up her purse?
And walking away.
Yes, I feel like that on loop. Like where she's just like,
oh, let me see that purse. Let me see your little bag. Let me.
This is a gift. It's I don't know if y'all can see it, but it is.
Yeah.
Seen Keisha from New Jack City. She's my cinematic idol.
That's mood. That's a vibe.
And so shout out to Dude for giving me this. But look, he gave me a Keisha Rockabye Baby. He knows that she is my cinematic idol.
That's a vibe.
That's where I keep my lipsticks.
And it's you need like 3 more of those to fill all your lipsticks. That's your travel case.
Right. It's my emergency kit.
Yeah. But the next thing before we go to just mention, because again, this is daily violence on our bodies and our personhood. But Afro Resistance had posted on Instagram, follow Afro Resistance, and it was a repost from the Quilombo Collective, a black Brazilian collective, informing us about a Brazilian cop that stood on a black woman's neck in a horrifying incident caught on video. 2 military police officers in Sao Paulo, Brazil, were suspended after one of them stepped on the neck of a 51-year-old black woman. Now, the 2 cops have been suspended after the disturbing video. The 51-year-old owner suffered a broken neck and various injuries. I saw there was a couple reports, and she had stitches everywhere. Stitches everywhere. And I remember in our chat when we were talking about it, I was saying I would not put it past the police that they have had it a joke amongst themselves for them to do that to somebody after seeing the George Floyd video. Right. Like, I don't put it past them that they had a bet or a game or some sick, twisted, I don't know what to do this, because at this point, y'all are just playing with us, you know, and it has deadly consequences. How dare you? How do you feel okay? Knowing, and the thing is that they are okay with it, you know, because a Brazilian youth is killed every 23 minutes, right? And all of those horrifying statistics. And I saw some of the video, and I'm like, I really need to stop doing this. You know, the headline is more than enough, but yeah, this is happening, or this happened just recently, just now.
I was talking to Anna, who is part of the Quilombo Collective. And there was a deep sense of like pain and betrayal, right? And part of it was she was sharing that, of course, there's feminist groups over there that are taking this on, but where are the larger groups that take on police brutality in Brazil? Not there, right? Why? Because at the end of the day, it's a black woman. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's a woman's issue. It's a black woman's issue. So it's of course the feminist groups will take it on. The black women's groups will take it on. But then the larger piece there is the black communities march for George Floyd and for Black Lives Matter. Where's the outrage from over here? Do we even know that this is happening? No.
The thing is, they're not even marching for black women in the U.S. Right. So that's number one.
That's part of it too. That's part of it too. So it's like, so, you know, and I've always been very critical about exactly that. And I believe that we have to have solidarity. We have to. It's something that I truly believe on, but it cannot be a one-sided solidarity where Latin America or the rest of the world has to stand in solidarity with African Americans, right? And over here, African Americans and people from the African diaspora, including us, get to practice U.S. exceptionalism and not have to pay attention to the rest of Latin America. Mm-hmm. And some people might disagree. I know Nigel is saying that's not true, but for the larger piece, it is. And I'm part of the diaspora. And I work on this. I really center Latin America. I center the Caribbean, every single ounce of work that I do. But it's really hard to create a transnational solidarity movement where people here are ignited to stand up for things that are happening in Latin America, despite U.S. foreign policy being so flawed against Black people in the region and Black dollars impacting us so much. Most people here don't even know what is happening in Latin America and that people are dying and being killed because of military.
The Black military.
No, I want to say that Black Lives Matter in the United States does not talk about global situations like this, but other countries do talk about Black Lives Matter. So they're fighting their own internal things, and they're also mentioning George Floyd, whereas in the United States, nobody mentions the people that are being killed every 23 minutes.
Very little.
Very little, if at all. I've been to several protests and I haven't heard anything else besides, George Floyd, and then every, third or fourth time, Breonna Taylor.
And the trans groups, the reproductive justice groups and the trans groups center trans women. Yes. And then you have groups, Sister Song, Afro Resistance. You have the known groups that center Black women, that centering the same Black woman and the same trans woman, and centering women in the Latin American and Caribbean African diaspora, but it's not enough.
But the larger organizations don't even acknowledge we exist. And so your first mistake, Nigel, was again speaking over Black women. That's your first mistake, because we're talking about our lived experiences. And we don't need another Black man telling us what's true and what's not. We've been in this work for decades, and we live as Black women, and we live in the US, and we live in Latin America, and we work in all of these different places. So your first mistake is saying anything that we're saying is not true or speaking over us. So that's first. We don't appreciate it, and you're proving our point. Black women in the US are not getting the amount of attention or outrage that Black men get. We've had 2 Black women who have died in childbirth.
Do you know their names, Nigel? Off the top of your head without Googling.
I am sick of Black men. Black men.
All right, you know what you are.
Don't get gender war with us, then leave. Bye, goodbye. Because Black men have never protected us anyway. So we know you're not going to start now. We've been holding our own for this whole time, and holding your own, and protesting on the front lines for everybody. So
Right.
we're used to it.
When Black women protest, everybody wins. When Black women do things, everybody benefits.
The girl from the UK, what's her name? Who was the woman that was raped and murdered by a Black man, who had just come from organizing various Black Lives Matter protests, that was killed by Black men. All of the Black trans people that were killed by Black men.
A woman hit on a skateboard on her face, dumped in a trash.
By a Black man.
We're not centering this person.
While his friends recorded and laughed. Literally, a Black woman was tossed into a garbage pit, a dumpster, basically literally saying, "We are trash," recorded and laughed at by other Black men looking on. So there is no gender war. There is no gender war.
Anyways.
We ain't got time.
Yeah. Ay.
What are you proving? Okay, so organize a protest for her. So this video about the Brazilian woman, it's in the New York Post. I actually was surprised it was in the New York Post.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, Brittany.
You know what? Brittany looks out. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I don't know if Brittany had maybe taken a break, but Brittany is always on. Like always apoyando. What's happening? Supporting.
We need to have Brittany on as a guest.
Yes, Brittany, you want to
say next live, Brittany, let us know.
Brittany,
can you be a special guest on our live?
And actually, her name is not Oluwatosin, it's Oluwatoyin. So there we see. No, all right.
Always here. All right, Brittany.
On that, we're not gonna spend no more energy listening.
Yeah, Nigel, just listen and learn.
Callense and listen to Black women. That's our slogan.
Shout out to Gloria for that one. But
let me put it back on. Let me look for that comment. Put it back on.
Our
center it. Callense and listen to Black women. That's it.
Just like that. Listen to
DASSIT. That's it. Yeah. Demasiado. We're talking about this being a global issue, right? That there's a belief, particularly that like these things, specific things happen in the US. And we're saying that a reminder that it is happening globally. There is an incident in Brazil. There are incidents in Colombia. There are incidents in Honduras. There are incidents in Cuba. There's
Every country.
Everywhere, right? And so whether it be the fact that we're talking about DV, we're talking about maternal health, we're talking about all these other, right? It's unacceptable. And at a certain point, we have every right to be pissed off at the way that Black men, given the choice, refuse to show up for Black women explicitly over and over and over and over again. Like that's just what it is.
So, the fragile masculinity piece told us to shut up. All right, bye.
Huh?
The fragile masculinity the fragile masculine man that we have there said.
No, he's saying he's closing.
He's closing his mouth.
Yeah.
Clearly, Google Translate failed the brother, but you know what? Like
a lot of things.
So you all are taking it that side, okay?
So it's like that's what it is. But you know what? Just listen, and if you have anything else to say, just write it. Write us at radiocañanegra@gmail.com.
Take the workshop. Brittany, let's get on a schedule.
Yes.
To do an interview with you. We want to know more about you. We want to share everything. We love you. We're like,
I'm really grateful. Decent pendejo.
Thank you, Denise, for that sage advice. Right? That is a piece of sage advice. But really thinking about the fact that, like, I just want commitments at this point. I think that when you take the Radio Caña Negra training, one of the things that you'll see is that we do not allow you to walk away without telling us something that you are committed to doing, right? In order to, and how you're going to utilize the learned behavior. And so for me, if you ain't talking about what you're trying to do to get other Black men on the level, then you ain't saying nothing.
I said, I just posted, well, I could, Brittany. I love you too, Brittany. I posted this, I posted like every week, all videos of Black men speaking without saying what their commitment is in dismantling misogynoir will be deleted. I don't care what Black men are saying anymore. You've been talking enough and you ain't been saying shit. My mother, you know, the WhatsApp, she's always sending me videos, right? And now she's into sending me videos of cute little Black children. I'm like, listen, old lady, it's not happening, okay? Not right now. But then she also sends me, you know, just interesting videos, right? And she sent me one. I'm like, I told you not to send me any more videos of Black men, mommy. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's what you have to do.
I've had it.
That's a legitimate request, and I don't think that it's something that has, like, this feeling is not unearned, right? It's not random.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the feeling of just feeling unsafe and unsupported. I said the feeling of feeling unsafe and unsupported.
Mm-hmm. Valid. It's valid.
Valid. You know, and it is.
No, Sherry, don't. Okay, so Sherry is another supporter. Sherry Roberts Lumpkin, she does the ragdoll exchange. No, I said old lady because, you know, just to get on her, you know, it's mom.
we are most definitely not being ageist. And as a matter of fact, our conversation today started with talking about age, right? Yeah. If we could take it back, it's also the idea that as Black women, we were talking about how valuable it is to just be okay with your age, right? That this idea socially that we talk about, like, wow, you look so young. You're 60, but you look 12. Not realizing that, like, my inside is probably 90 because of the weathering that it takes with the raggedy ass society that we live in. So it at what point do we stop looking at that as a part of as a kind of like as a compliment, right? Maybe it's not as much of a compliment as we thought. I actually started thinking about it because I probably lost like 6 ounces, and somebody saw me and they were like, "Oh wow, Ev, you look great." And I was like, "Bitch, I always been fine."
Right.
6 ounces ago, I was fine too. And so the idea that somehow, like, you were, you know, like, now I have met some, you know, kind of unseen measure of beauty because I lost a couple of pounds. I just really felt like, wow, like, I don't know that that's as much of a compliment as you are suggesting.
And it's more so because my mother used to always call my grandfather old man, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's an inside joke. And Sherry, you know me, I'm not no ageist. Look.
Then we Sherry makes
with age, so that's I'm not on that wave, please.
Sherry makes a great point of just like then the pressure to stay that way as you get older, right? Like yes, there is a pressure to also. I think that when you start to center it too, that you do have a pressure to kind of stay feeling and looking young, whatever that feels and looks like, and what that kind of does to you. Like I will say that from in the COVID era, I was like, damn, where the hell these grays came from? Like, oh snap! Like I actually had to really think about and let's just say all over, right? And so
Dash is like, not me,
right? Dash. Well, you know what? This damn gut that I have prevents me from seeing all over, but I think it's all over.
Well, I mean, y'all already given, dropping bars like with how your vagina looks after you give birth, the gray hairs in the vaginal region. These are things people don't talk about.
Yes, like, that could be the next conversation.
That could definitely be the next conversation.
That our mamas didn't tell us.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gray vagina hairs. The first time I heard of that was y'all talking about it.
Really? In life?
In life.
No.
In life. And then the conversation.
I never heard it. Evelyn.
You saw your own?
Until I saw my own. And then I was talking to like friends, and it's like, girl, and it's like, yeah, me too, and it's like,
right?
Yeah, yes, I didn't get I was around like, all right, when you are around 40, your pubic hair is going to. No, I never got any of that.
You wouldn't even think, right? But it's hair, just like anywhere else.
One of my, you know what? I had never had like a wax or anything, and one of my friends was like, "What? You haven't had a wax?" And I was like, why would I? And she was like, I've gotten them ever since I started seeing gray hairs. And I was like, you got gray hairs?
Fast.
They get gray? And I got a gut. So my gut sits on my lap. So I don't even have the luxury of just being able to, I got to hold my stomach up to be able to look at my vagina. So I was like, this is a thing? Or my vulva rather, right? Not my vagina if you want to be technical. Yeah. Right? Like my vulva. Like I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Wow, who knew? And then I got a gray hair in my eyebrow. And then I felt utterly disrespected. And again, I had to really sit with my own beliefs about like what I've been taught about aging, which is like prevented at all costs. Mm-hmm. Right? Versus what I know.
This, man.
Is like, you have hairs?
Hair.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay for it to be different if it's birth, whether it's birth children or not. Right? Like the idea that we're thinking that we're always supposed to look the same way we looked when we came out of the womb is unrealistic, and it's unhealthy because it holds you to an unrealistic standard of living your friggin' life.
Yeah.
So, I learned that there was like such a thing as the vagina, like plastic surgery, like the vaginal.
Yeah, vaginoplasty I think is what it's called, right?
What is it called?
Like vaginoplasty, I think, or something like that.
Something like that. But I learned it from twins because there were these twins that I used to work. Well, I used to work with one twin, and she had a sister. And the twin that I used to work with, she was single, and her twin had she had babies. She had like two children, and she came once like after she had her second child, and the other twin, and I was like maybe like 26, and they were probably like 45 or between 45 and 47. And the one that had children was like, yeah, I'm going to have this surgery done. And I was like, what surgery is that? And then she told me. And the other one that didn't have children was like, yeah, I don't need that because, my vagina didn't get stretched out like that. And I was like,
scorched out though?
Stretched out, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said scorched out. I'm like, burnt? Like
no.
Stretched out. And these are identical twins, right? So it was just fascinating, that conversation between them, like one with the stretched out vagina, one without, and then they're like, the one without was like, When I saw her vagina, I was like, girl, you need to get that fixed up.
No.
It was just fascinating to hear the conversations. And I was like, now, I had twin grandmothers, and I know the closeness. So that wasn't the shocking part.
Right.
At all. Like the closeness in identical twins is real.
No, but the fact that she said you got to do something about that is.
But also normalize looking at your vagina and teach your daughters to do the same. Because I think that's also an important thing, because you wouldn't know what it looks. If you don't know what it looks like, you don't know what it looks like separately or differently.
Well, I learned from a good friend of mine abroad to shower with my daughter, something that I never had with my mother. So at least once a week, I shower with my daughter, and I want to continue that. As
my mom did that with me too.
As long as she will permit me to, and she loves it. So the two of us shower together. She gets to put soap on me, and I have my friend that does that. Her daughter is 14, and they still shower together, as like spending time together in the shower, and that's where they have their private conversations that they don't have, and she gets to access this to see her body, to see the changes that are happening and everything else. And engage in conversation. She's, that's where she was able to engage with her daughter in conversations around, like, you can shave your pubic hair. You don't have to have it like that if you want to, kind of thing. So I do want to. There's a practice that I want to cultivate with my daughter. And then we have to have the gender conversation, because I've encouraged my partner to have the same kind of thing with his son, but it hasn't happened.
Yeah, and also like that's very fascinating to me, because that's not something that I've ever done with my mother, and I have a son, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's not,
Well, my son has asked me not to come into the shower anymore, and because I respect him. I'm raising children to read that. I'm raising children to respect. I'm raising children in a way that I respect them.
Yeah, their agency.
Right.
Agency, yes. So when they tell me something around their bodies, I'm going to respect them. So when he told me that one time, like, I used to wash his hair, right, in the shower. And this was recent. He's 9 years old. So he told me that maybe like last year, maybe like 9 or 10 months ago. He asked me if his dad could wash his hair. And I said, "Oh, sure. Why?" And he said, "Because that way you don't have to see me naked." That's how he framed it. And I said, "Absolutely." I didn't make a big deal out of it, but I was like,
it hurts. It hurts.
But I was like, absolutely. And then I told Omar, and then Omar did, he did
right inside.
But I was hurt, and I haven't been able to see his little body since.
It hurts. And you know what? Some days, like, I mean, I have a son too, and right around 9, 10, that's when he started trying to be like a little bit more independent. And it felt like my best friend dumped me. Like, honestly, like, I felt so hurt. I was just like, well, what do you mean? But like, no. But and I had to really stop no, I didn't stop myself. I went right into like old school guilt mom mode. I was like, 3 days of labor in a C-section? You finna hold my hand and let me in until like you're about 47, homie. Right?
3 days.
Yeah, I was induced on a Monday and he was born on Thursday afternoon. So it was quite the lengthy experience. Which is one of the things of why I became a doula, because I was also like, if I would have had some support, then maybe I wouldn't have made I would have had more options, and I would have been able to have a different experience. Let's see, Nigel, Afro resistance, and let's see. Sherry shares, my father shared with my father showered with my brother, but my mom never did it with me. Yeah. And that's another conversation that I think that we should go into in another live, but just really thinking about the pieces, right? That, like, what do we learn about ourselves? Like, Dash and I were talking a little bit in our last podcast about like mothers, right? I think that we ended up going into that space of like mothers, maternal figures, caregivers, right? Because not everybody is raised with their mother, but like, what are the things that you learned?
Yeah.
We'd love to share.
My mother was the first hero. She was the first revolutionary figure that I encountered in my life. That when I look back now at my 33 years of age, I'm like, my mom taught me that. My mom did that. My mom advocated for us. That whole agency. She was very clear in how we expressed ourselves. For example, if we didn't like something, she wasn't a person who she obviously required respect or respecting your elders. But when we had any type of indignation or righteous indignation, or we didn't feel right, or something felt unfair or unjust, or it's usually in tone, right? Like, oh, Dashida's tone was so and so, and she's like, well, what did you do for her to have that tone with you?
Exactly.
Because that didn't come from nowhere. She just woke up and expressed it like that. And she's always been our biggest advocate in that way. And my sister is one of those silent killers. Like, people think of her as very quiet, but my sister advocates for herself and others, and people are surprised by that. And the thing is that it's me, my brother, and my sister, and anytime we had some type of problem, right, in school, because again, we're Black kids, right? So if we're talkative, it's a problem. If we're expressing ourselves, it's a problem. And my mother never went down that road of in public, she was like, she defended us if it was, if it was valid, if it wasn't some like us just fucking off, right? Which it usually wasn't. But if we needed to be corrected, she did so at home.
Mm-hmm. She didn't shame you. She didn't correct you with shame.
And it's also those white people.
Yeah,
it's one of those white people.
And that's the thing, because I actually had quite the opposite experience where my mom was like, don't ever, like, I always, first of all, I realize now that when I think about where my mother comes from, I think that when you are a Black person that comes from a space, like, it was a very small town where I think that Blackness is very easily, like, there's a space of like, don't get in trouble, right? It's like everything is coming from a space of lack. So there was a lot of don't show up this way, don't say anything. Like, so I really can say that I did not discover my voice so it was a combination of like the social dynamic, political dynamic, but then also the internal house dynamic, because I was also the youngest. And so I think that those combinations also robbed me of my voice in some ways as a child, and which is one of the things that I always attempt to do with my own son now. Y'all.
Yeah, what's happening?
Right? I don't know. I try to do with my own child now, because I do try to show up for him in the ways that I didn't feel supported when I was a child, right? Like, I'm always telling him, I'll tell him all the time. I can call him right now. He'll be like, my mom will say she will fight Jesus for me. But when we get home, I will fuck you up. If I find out that you were wrong, I'm gonna defend you, because I think that and especially our kids, they need to have people, they need to know that you got their back. Mm-hmm. I think that's a real clear experience that you can do, and that you can do it without, and acknowledge if your child is wrong, they wrong, right? Mm-hmm. If they wildin'. But at the same token, it's like, you need to be able to figure out what's the plan. What you're not gonna do is come out here and criminalize my child.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I relate to Evelyn as well. I didn't, how I grew up in Panama was very similar to that. It was around like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did you do to deserve that? There was something that you must have done, or that kind of rhetoric. And it wasn't until later on that it was like, oh no, like I'm, and I was always known to be that kind of feisty and fiery. And now with my kids, like I've told my children, especially at the beginning of school, that they need to make sure that the teachers know that their mother is not well. Like, on a serious note, like, I've told you, but I'm like, make sure that they know that your mother is not well. Tell them that your mother is just not well, and because your mother will go in there, and just tell them that your mother's not well. Mm-hmm. And you guys always like, ay, mamá. And I'm like, es que es importante que ellos sepan desde el principio, que tu mamá no está bien.
¿Es cierto?
That they know what they signing up for.
Exactly. And I also tell the teachers, right? I also tell the teachers that, that anything, that I will be the parent, that I will be here in around 30 minutes. I don't have a problem with that.
And they also need to know it. I make that shit clear.
I do. I tell them very clear. And I live by it too.
Janvia was like, I will pull up, okay?
Listen. And I do. And I do and I have. I do and I have. I had one issue and only one issue with one of Gibran's teachers. And that was solved. And it was Gibran, Gibran is a strong little boy. And he was giving a white child his lunchbox that he had left in the park. And the little boy, instead of saying thank you, he grabbed the lunchbox from Gibran, like forcefully. But Gibran is stronger, so it didn't leave Gibran's hand. So it stayed in Gibran's hand, and then Gibran grabbed the boy and threw him on the floor, because Gibran also does martial arts.
And he's defending himself.
Right? So then there was like this exchange of like words, but the little boy was already on the floor.
He was arguing.
All I wanted to know, I'm like, did he beat his ass?
Right.
He was on the floor.
Because this is important information. Because you know what? Then you're gonna be like, look, you know what? As a matter of fact, it's so funny because when Sonari was about 4, there was this little kid in pre-K that was putting the beats on him, right? So I was just like, I told him one day, I was like, let me tell you something. I said, I had to take it old school. I was like, if you come back and tell me one more time that this little boy beat you, if you don't fuck him up, I am going to, I'm going to get you. So I said, I said, another piece of advice, aim for the nose and you always get the face, right? So the next day I'm going and I'm like having jokes and I'm coming back from work. I'm going to pick him up and I catch one of the moms, like, on the school. And I was just like, oh, hey, we having a great conversation, kikiing it up. So the way that the pre-K used to be was that they had like this little gate and all the kids would like run when they saw their parents. And so at that point, Sonari comes and there's like 2 or 3 little other kids that come. And Sonari turns around and punches this little boy in the face, right? And then he turns around and looks at me like, see?
I did what you told me.
Right, I did what you told me, Mom. I did what you told me. And I'm like, and then whose son was it? But of course, the woman who I was kikiing with on the train the entire time. And he's like, and the little boy is like crying. And Sonari is like, and me, I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, you told me if I aim for the nose, I always get the face. And then he looks at the little, and I was like, what happened? And then he tells the little boy, he's like, remember at lunchtime when you took my toy and you hit me? And then I was like, you held it until 5:30? And he goes, yeah, I wanted you to see it. I wanted you. And I was like,
you're like, I'm not your mom.
I was like, womp. Crazy. There was a part of me that was like, you better.
Yeah, right.
You better, Sonari. Right? And then there was another part of me that was like, oh my God, they're going to cut me off. And I was like, yep. And it was funny because I couldn't even argue, even if I would have wanted to, which I didn't, because they had already, Sonari had already exposed me when he was like, you told me to aim for the nose. Remember we was practicing the punches yesterday?
Remember we were practicing?
We're practicing too.
So, anyway, so so later on, he told me, when we were going through like what had happened, because the teacher had told me, right? And I didn't see anything wrong with that. The teacher was okay too. The teacher wasn't complaining. The teacher was like, there was this incident with this other little boy. The boy thought that Gibran was taking his lunch, and I was like, no. We can great lunches here. Gibran's not stealing nobody's lunch, right? And the boy reacted like that. Blah, 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 blah. But then Gibran told me, yeah. And then the teacher said that I shouldn't fight like that because white people always think that we fight.
What?
So the next morning, you know, I rolled up. I rolled up. And you know, the teachers are young. This is a Black teacher, Black Dominican teacher. So I rolled up and I was like, what exactly did you tell Gibran? And she's like, you know, I was explaining to him. And she's all about, you know, like the good Negro, behaving well. And I was like, no. One, you don't tell my son that. Two, you don't tell any child in this classroom that.
Mm-hmm.
That white people think that we fight enough. No. Mm-mm. Because every time that one of these kids does something to my child, he is going to fight. Because that's what I'm going to tell him. He is going to fight. Because they need to know that we don't fight enough.
Mm-hmm. And she didn't say anything to the little white boy.
No, the little white boy the little white boy was the one that actually got in trouble.
No, but she didn't say anything about him fighting or snatching or.
No. But the little boy's parent was the actual one that actually got the complaint. I didn't get a complaint. I got just like there was an incident, but I didn't get like, oh, Gibran did this. I didn't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I got the hearsay from Gibran. But I was like, you need to tell these Black children that we don't fight enough. Mm-hmm. Because every time that one of these kids does something to my child, he's gonna know that he's gonna beat the shit out of them.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck? What am I talking about? I was like, why am I acting like we don't?
No, but that was like a serious thing. I was like,
that's sick. But
yeah, it's all these like, you know, like what is that called? Like, you know, it's late, so I can't remember my words. Like the well-behaved Negro. What is that called?
Respectable Negro.
Respectability, docile, like
politics. You know, like having to behave and having to be good. The same, you know, we're coming full circle now.
Right.
With a little girl being sent to juvenile detention because she didn't do her homework.
Right.
And you have little children in school having to defend themselves. One, because the parents don't teach them no better at home.
Yeah. And then also we have people that give this advice believing that this is good advice to give.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's the other side too, that is really scary. That it's like, ten cuidado, van a pensar, be careful. They're gonna think this of you.
We have to limit our access to humanity.
Yes.
So that people can continue stepping on it.
It teaches us that we don't have access to a full range of response.
And then the
problematic
piece, the other piece there, that depending on the relationship again of parent and child, and that freedom of expression and being a full human and all that kind of stuff, that's directly linked to our agency as children. Right. Now that as parents, right, our children might not even tell us anything. Mm-hmm. Because Gibran might not mention anything that the teacher mentioned to him. And then in his mind, it's ingrained, oh, I can't fight, because then they're going to think that we fight all the time.
But also the agency that we have is also like, it's linked to the agency that our parents felt they had. And absolutely. I think that's a really important piece that, like, you know, I say all the time that, like, my uterus did not come with a halo, so I'm not going to respond perfectly. But that also, like, I'm really grateful that I live with a time, and I live in a time where, like, I have agency to more response. For example, when I was a child, my mother never went to school because she had her own hangups about not speaking English. So even if she would have been the type of person, she would not have gone, because that would have superseded the incident that I was a part of. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been like, they're going to treat you poorly because I don't speak English. And I was like, they treat me poorly because you don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's like, what it gave me was that it robbed me from even like speaking up for myself, because I also knew that other people would not speak up for me, and that me speaking up for myself was automatically going to be seen as disrespect. There was no type of, oh, wow, she's, you know, well-versed, or she's, you know, nothing. It would have been like, esta niña es abusiva. How they talk back to grown-ups, right? And so there would have been no real support there. And I think that that's what I interpreted, that, like, you have to shut up because nobody's going to come and have your back.
Mm-hmm.
And so as parents, we also need to really, like, even if we weren't raised that way, I think we need to do some internal work to be able to develop the skills and develop the courage to be able to show up for ourselves, because that also does something and teaches our kids quite a bit about the way they can show up.
That's what, and it's a really short story that my mother told me when she got hit in school in Panama, and her school was like 2 blocks from her house, like right there. And the teacher hit her. And she said she went out the classroom, went out to school, went home, told her mom, my grandma, and my grandmother came back and said, "Don't you ever put your hands on my child again." And my mother knew that her mom was going to back her up, and that's why she did it. And so obviously she passed that on to us, and obviously I'm going to pass, on and on and on to your point.
Yeah. But I do see, Genevieve, did you just yawn? Oh,
no, I didn't yawn. I was gonna say, I had a similar experience with my mother regarding my name. In I think in first grade, the teacher misspelled my name after it was written out on the roll call or whatever. She misspelled it, and she made me write it out how she spelled it. So when I got home, my mom saw it on the notebook. And my mom, she didn't say anything to me. She let it be. The next morning, she went in with me and she told the teacher right in front of me, how I spell her name is how I spell her name. And if I tell her that 2 + 2 is 5, I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to make sure that 2 + 2 is 5.
Well,
but it's also your fucking name,
right?
And that's the thing. Thinking that my mom couldn't spell my name, that's like a serious thing,
right? But the ease that people do that, right? There's generation. Imagine, like, how many people I know that they'll be like, "Oh, my name was this," but they just shortened it to Peters because they said that didn't sound right.
Exactly. Oh no, right? I feel like our generation went through that a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Like, no, así no se dice. And that, you know what, when you feel powerless, because I think that there's also like this space where people don't recognize the privilege that we have in order to have
over babies.
Yeah, like people would just be like, I mean, think about it. Until very recently, people were still telling people, you want to name your daughter, you want to name your child XYZ. Who's going to be able to pronounce it? Are they going to be able to? And that depending on the freedom that you felt or the comfort, you would also be like, these people have achieved more. They know better than me. So, I mean, I always, my heart is always with those people because I know that that's my mom. Like, my mom was not the bold, brave. It was like, be careful. But, my mom also lived here in this country undocumented for a while. So it's like her nature is to also be like, shut the fuck up and lay low. Right. And I think that for a lot of people now that we're talking about these experiences, that like, I don't suggest that everybody is automatically going to be bold and brave, but I think that everybody can be bold and brave, and that we have a responsibility for ourselves and our children to step up and step in as boldly, as bravely as we can, even if that's not our default, even if that's not the way that we were raised, because that's a big thing, and I think that sometimes people don't think about the privilege that comes with that. And depending on what your experience was, like if you have needed a partner, you're probably less likely to be like, I'm gonna tolerate some bullshit. If you have, so there's a whole infinite amount of things. Like before I was born, my mom married someone to stay in the country. And he was like a raging alcoholic, right? And he would like threaten her, and like they had like a really violent relationship. And so these are all things that she was always like, like that I have the luxury of not having to tolerate certain things that she felt like she needed to tolerate. And so that's why, again, I don't look down on people who make certain choices, because I think that that's also part of our own support of our communities, where we automatically are like, we're biased toward our own experience, but I think that we also don't recognize that people have had a lot shittier experiences, and that it is actually a blessing for us to be able to raise by people who gave us voice or who added voice, because that's not always the case.
And we tend to not advocate for them.
Yeah, we don't.
Instead of saying, I'm going to stick up for you, I'm going to blame you. But hey, bye. Good night, Sherry. We're about to sign off too.
Yeah, we're about to sign off too, Sherry. Have a great night. I feel like tonight has been great on many aspects, many conversations had.
Email us at Radio Caña Negra at Gmail. Follow us.
Next time,
workshop.
We don't know when it's going to be, maybe in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, we taking advice. So if you need advice about a situation, holler. Because we want to be able to, we want to hear your story. So write in about your story.
So,
Dear Genevieve.
It doesn't have to be Dear Genevieve, but do know that part of our anti-Blackness training has a coaching component to it. So if you want free coaching during our live, this is your opportunity. Ooh. Email us, get your free coaching on during Caña Negra Live. We will respond if you have an issue, a question around, it could be around anti-Blackness or it could be around race, racism, anything Latin America, anything Black, your family, Jews, your boo. We like those boo ones. And we don't discriminate. We don't discriminate at all.
Check out our podcast.
We got our podcast episode uploaded. That Dash just uploaded our latest episode.
Detangling the Magic Pussy Girls.
Yes.
So please.
And the colorism attached to that.
So please listen, give us your thoughts, and we will see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, well, a week or two. The 25th, the 24th. Stay tuned.
Oh, yes, stay tuned for the party.
We have the party.
Black Women's Day. Woo
Put it in your
Thank you, Sherry. Have a good night. To everybody that's listening, thank you so much.
Well,
bye.
Bye. I love y'all.
Love you, mama.
Bye.
Black joy, bitches.
Yes.
And center Black women always. Center Black girls always.
And AfroResistance.org. Again, for anyone who's asking about Latin American orgs, AfroResistance.org. Here's your answer.
Good night.
Oh, I invited my dad to the next workshop.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
On the 24th. So he's gonna be
I'm gonna be nervous. I don't want to do it.
It's gonna be good. All right. You should invite your mom. Invite your mom.
That's true.
We talk about that later.
Okay.